doing fine. It's a living life.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Way Yoga. My name is Sarah. Today we are going to be completing a part 2 of a full body yoga tune-up. So what you'll need today is just a few props. Again, not a requirement in any of my classes, but if you have a blanket, go ahead and grab that. You can grab pillows and cushions. You can also grab some yoga blocks if you have those at the ready. It might come in handy for this class. So we're gonna kick things off by coming into straddle pose. Now, we're gonna take the legs out wide here, and what we wanna go for, friends, is just a comfortable edge. So not too much, not too little, but just right. And I'll be keeping time as we go along here, but once you found that suitable edge, that part of you that can sustain that comfortably, we're going to go ahead and hold here for about 2 minutes in duration. Now, of course, as you go further along in your practice, I do want to encourage you to go up to 3 to 5 minutes, but just for the sake of keeping things condensed today in class, we're just going to go for about a 2-minute hold here. Now, the idea behind this practice, specifically yin yoga, we want to find again that comfortable edge, that mild edginess in the body, and then we'll start to open up by holding for longer periods of time. We do this in order to get into the deep connective tissue in the body. Our deep connective tissue is like tendons, ligaments, fascia, our bones, collagen. So these areas of the body that respond better to more passive static holding and for longer periods of time. So it responds quite differently than our muscles here. And we'll tap into our breath cycle starting on our next inhale through the nose. And exhale. You may notice the longer we get into these postures, you might be able to fold forward more effortlessly, and that's okay if that doesn't happen. It's not the goal of this practice. All right, friends, that's already time. So we'll slowly make our way up to seated. Take your time coming out of these poses. It's not abnormal to feel, again, that edginess coming up again. I like to take just windshield wipers with my legs. It's not uncommon to feel like you've aged several years. Again, that's part of the practice. It's quite bittersweet, but just notice how the rest of your day goes. Notice how you feel in your body. Okay, so once you've gotten a counter pose, friends, we're going to go ahead and make our way into our next posture. So we're going to take head to knee pose, Janu Shirshasana. So let's start off by bringing the sole of the left foot into the right thigh, shall we? And again, if you need to prop yourselves up in any way, if you want to sit on a blanket, maybe a yoga block, maybe having like a bolster cushion out in front of you as you fold forward, you can take that as an option as well. And like I said, we're gonna go for about 2 minutes here in duration. And again, just finding that mild edge where you start to feel a little bit of sensation in the body, but it's not so overwhelming that you're pushing into this pain zone. We don't wanna go for that. And in fact, if you do feel like any type of sharp sensation, any type of pinching kind of sensation, that's a signal from your body that maybe we've gone a little bit too far, in which case I want you to come out of it and readjust, okay? We never want to push ourselves to that point, but nor do we want to sit in these poses not really feeling anything either, right? So it's just finding that sweet spot, that comfortable edge in the body. As I mentioned before, this is a part 2. I will have part 1 available, linked down below if you want to try that out. And in that class, we mainly deal with the upper half of the body. In today's class, we're going to deal with the waist down. So getting into the lower half of the body here. Now you might be wondering at home, like, okay, well, why would we want to connect with the deep connective tissue in the body? Why would we want to work with these areas? And I'm glad you asked that. So as we age and over time, you know, our body gets stiff, right? Someday, somewhere along in the future, we might be working out or reaching for something and we throw our back out or something like that happens. So in an effort to prevent injury, in an effort to age gracefully, right, to maintain our flexibility and our current range of motion, our body just craves this type of healthy pressure. It's a healthy type of stress for the body, right? All things in life need just a healthy degree of pressure. Because if we don't introduce that into our routine and into our lifestyle, you know, things can get out of alignment, right? Things can atrophy over time. Personally, yin yoga is like my favorite style of yoga. All right, guys. And if you can believe it, it's already time to come out of it. So we're gonna go for like shorter holds today, but again, I want to encourage you, I'm feeling that. I want to encourage you as you develop in your practice to go for like 3 to 5 minutes. That would be ideal, okay? But again, I just want to keep things nice and short just to kind of give you a little taste of some yin yoga postures you can do at home. Okay, naturally we're gonna do this on the other side, so let's go ahead and bring the sole of the right foot in towards the left thigh. Once again, setting ourselves up, and like I said, if you wanna, you know, sit on a cushion just for more support, if you need to bring any props out in front of you to make this more accessible, go ahead and do that. Get creative with your props today, okay? Whatever helps you maintain that comfortable edge, okay? So let's go ahead once again and prepare for this, and just notice the difference between the right and the left side. I know my left side tends to be my least used side, therefore I'm a little bit tighter. Yeah, and just pay attention to any things that might come up during this practice. As you can see, naturally, this is a very meditative practice. I love yin yoga so much because I think it shows me where my mind tends to go when things get uncomfortable, right? When things tend to get a little edgier, a little bit more tension. You know, where does my mind wander off to? Right? We can learn a lot about ourselves through practices like this. And of course, deep breathing will get us through this. right, my beautiful friends, so let's slowly make our way back to seated once again. Any counter pose that you'd like. If you want to take windshield wipers or simply just extend your feet out in front of you, maybe give them a little shake here. Just inviting some light sensation back into your body here. Okay, so while you're getting your counter pose, I'm going to show you how we're going to prepare for our next posture. We're going to come into hero's pose, but I'm going to give you lots of options, so don't worry. So this is where the yoga props may come in handy for you. So I'm going to take my blanket and put it out in front of me just to support my knees. Now, for some of us, it might be beneficial to sit on a yoga block, and as I said before, for many of us, this might put a lot of demand, a lot of tension on the knees here. So I'm reclining back on the tops of my feet here. I'm sitting right in between my thighs or my ankles here with a yoga block underneath me. Of course, you can sit on a pillow if you have that at home. But already right off the bat, I'm starting to feel some sensation here above my knee and in the quadricep, okay? So that might be plenty for you today, just to hold that for 2 minutes. And of course, if you have a cushion, you can also take this action here by placing a pillow or some type of support here behind the kneecap here and sitting like so. And that might help mitigate any type of pressure, especially if this is just not quite sustainable for you. And of course, I want to invite you to play around with sitting without the block if you can sustain that again, if that is your comfortable edge. Some of you may want to make your way down onto the yoga mat like so. So coming into a reclined hero's pose with or without the prop underneath you, okay? So just don't feel pressured into anything, but just know you always have options in my class, okay? So again, we're only gonna hold this for about 2 minutes in duration, starting now. Go ahead and get your setup here and I'll time us in, okay? So get your setup established. And again, just take whatever feels the most appropriate for your body. Just know you can always revisit this class. This is something that you can work towards, of course. And again, we just want to find that comfortable edge within the body. Remember, not too much, not too little, but just right. Finding ease where we can, whether that's within the breath, honoring the different thoughts and the emotions that can come up, of course. And again, just playing around with whatever variations are speaking to you. Again, don't go too far if that's not appropriate. All right, so that is time, friends. So let's slowly just make our way out of the posture. Be mindful as you're coming out of this pose, friends. Just taking care to move slowly. I'm gonna take downward facing dog, but you are welcome to take child pose or any other counter pose you'd like to get before we move on. Great. I've got one more pose for you, friends, before I let you go, and we're simply going to come back to a kneeling position. Notice that I have the back toes curled under here, so we're going to be getting into the deep connective tissue in our feet, into the plantar fascia. Now, I do realize that, again, this may be a bit intense and not as accessible for everybody. I don't want you to worry. We're not going to be here very long. We're going to actually take this for about like a minute. So if you need to sit back into a bolster cushion just to make this more accessible for you, like I said, I know that this one is pretty intense, so we're only going to hold this for about a minute in duration. But again, the idea is just to find a mild edge here, a mild way to invite some sensation into the feet, especially if our feet feel a little bit fatigued today. Maybe we've been on our feet for extended periods of time. This is just a great one to revisit. Alternatively, if you want to put some pillows underneath your knees, you are welcome to do that too. Okay. So like I said, we weren't going to stay in this one very long. I know that this one can be quite intense, so I would recommend for this one about 1 minute to 2 minutes, okay? All right, my friends, so I'm going to make my way to seated to close off this practice with you. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's always a pleasure to guide you through these yoga poses. And be sure to check out part 1, which I'll have linked down below. And I cannot wait to see you guys in the next video. Until next time, namaste and bye for now.